But interestingly, right when I got home, 3 days postpartum, all I could do was dance. Like
Wow.
it was the only thing that I could do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't pretty. It wasn't competition Allison, perfect Allison. It was so ugly. And just like one of the first times that I could give two about what it looked like. Like I was just
Yeah.
like, it was so somatic and so important.
Welcome to the Medical Trauma Support Podcast, the show where we shine a light on the hidden impacts of medical trauma, explore tools for healing, and empower you to take control of your health journey. I'm Sarah, your host, a passionate advocate for trauma-informed care, somatic healing, and compassionate conversations. I'll bring you expert insights, healing strategies, and personal stories of resilience to help you feel seen, heard, and supported on your path to recovery. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Medical Trauma Support Podcast. And I am super excited to have Allison Thomas with us today. Hi, Allison.
Hello.
So, Allison is a dancer, a choreographer, a yoga teacher, a mom, many other things that I'm sure I'm not going to capture in my introduction. And I just want to share the reason that I invited Allison to be on the podcast. And that is because I go to her dance classes as part of my wellness and my healing journey, my healing path. And, sometimes you walk into a class and it's a good class, right? Like you're like, oh, that was a good class, like whether it's yoga or dance. But when I went to Allison's class for the first time, like I could feel so much more. It was like, it was healing. I wasn't doing a dance class, which is in itself healing, but there was something so much deeper. And so that's why I keep coming back and why I really wanted Allison here today. So thank you, Allison, for
Thank
being
you.
here. And I want to give you a space to tell the listeners and watchers, since it's a video podcast, a little bit more about you and kind of like your mission with your work.
Okay. So hello, everybody. I don't know where to look right now. I'm just going to look at your screen face. Uh, so I grew up a dancer. I grew up a competitive dancer, which is in and of itself in need of healing after you kind of exit the competitive dance world and just kind of reframing what dance meant to me in my adult life versus being judged and being, assessed at all times, how to kind of
Mm-hmm.
rework that. So that dance trajectory has looked like running away from dance, running back to dance. And I discovered this high fitness class that Holly was teaching in Texas. And it's kind of part of the class that I offer now. And it
Mm-hmm.
was the first time that in my like motherhood that I just like forgot that I used to be a dancer and I just like felt dance again in my body
That's
because it was
amazing.
just like it's like a cardio dance, like just like high energy. It moves
Great
fast enough
music.
that great
Great
music,
music.
fun moves, and it moves fast enough that you don't have enough time to really think and assess because if you start to do that, it's already the next move. And
Yeah.
so after I took her class a bunch, she was like, I'm moving. And I was like, no. And so then I was like, I'll get certified and teach it. And I kind of, after teaching it for a little while, was like, I need to rework it and include like weights and include some stuff that I feel like was lacking because it was basically just an hour of cardio. And I wanted to kind of incorporate, I also love stretching and there was no stretching element in it. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I want to include a way to take the nervous system up and like run
Mm-hmm.
from the tiger, but then also bring it back down and like ground and take advantage of that you are really warm. So it's a nice opening to like soften into stretching
Yeah.
deeper and breathing deeper.
I want to
Um,
pause there, Allison, because what you
yeah.
just said is so important for people to understand that as we're healing our nervous systems, having the capacity to go into sympathetic charge and then come down into parasympathetic is
Yeah.
so important. And that, again, like what you just said, is one of the reasons that I keep coming back to your class because
Oh, thank
you
you.
understand that part. You understand the importance of having this like flexible nervous system and
Yeah.
providing a fun space for people to do that. So
Yeah.
I love
Thank
that.
you. I'm so glad because yeah, that's what I've always, and I know there's classes out there that do that, but that's like what I've been looking for and
Hmm.
I couldn't find it. So I was like, let me just make it. Like I get it. I've studied enough. I understand it enough that I can kind of just make what I'm looking for. And
Yeah.
so I'm lucky that when I teach it, I also do it. So I get to experience it every week. Whereas sometimes in other practices like just a traditional dance class, I'm not taking the class, I'm facilitating. So I'm not getting to like experience what it feels like to be a participant as much. But this class
Yeah.
kind of, I do the whole thing. So it's like I get to just
Yeah.
do it.
And something else I
Um,
love about the class too is like we get to connect with each other. Like you'll do things to bring us in a circle
Circle,
together
yeah.
and we're making eye contact with each other. So like again, going back to like the nervous system and connection and the importance of that. Um, so I love the work that you're doing and I know that you based on our conversations is that you've used dance as a way to heal personally from
Hmm.
medical trauma.
Hmm.
And I wanted other people to hear about that. Like I wanted people to know it's not only therapy, right? Like I think
Yeah.
sometimes people think for their healing path it's like, okay, I'm going to go sit in this therapist's office and look in this person's eyes and talk about medical trauma. No. There are
Yeah.
so many paths and we have to find the one that like really resonates with us and really not just one. I mean, there are
Yeah.
so many different modalities that you can combine. Like dance is one of the ways that I heal. So I would love
Hmm.
to hear your story, Allison, if you
Yeah.
are up for
Yeah.
sharing it.
I am. It's a little dark. It's a little heavy. So I have three children. I have my oldest is Banks, he's 8,
Mhm,
and my youngest is Alo, he's just turned 4,
mhm,
and my middle child's name is Indy, and he passed away.
mhm,
And so I I dove. He died unexpectedly 3 days after birth.
mm,
Um, and and honestly, the dying part was not where the trauma came.
mm,
He was born at home, and if I had known he was going to pass ahead of time, I would have not transferred to a hospital. He had a tumor that grew on his lung late in my
mm,
pregnancy, and it covered
mhm,
his entire lung and just made breathing impossible.
mhm,
And so we transferred to a hospital because we didn't know what was going on with him and he wasn't able to breathe fully. And my midwives were administering CPR. And so he was kept alive, but he was connected to the umbilical cord long enough that he lived to make it to the hospital.
mhm,
But during that time, I felt like at home when my body kind of knew something was wrong and my heart knew
mhm,
something was wrong. And I felt just extreme peace during that
mhm,
part. And it wasn't until we got to the hospital that the trauma began. There
mhm,
was a lot of pumping of, you've got to hold on to hope. You've got to be here for him. Like really well intentioned people, like babies
mhm,
are miracles. Like we never know what can happen. But ultimately, his body was not made to stay on earth.
mhm.
And the trauma that happened during just the beeping and the almost dying
Yeah.
and then not dying and he was here
Mhm,
for 3 days. So we had 3 days of kind of, could a miracle happen? Can we pray hard enough to magically make his other lung feel strong enough to go? And is his brain going to be okay? Um, and ultimately, his body let us know it was time to go,
yeah.
and it was the most heart shattering thing of my life so
Yeah.
far. Um, but interestingly, right when I got home, 3 days postpartum, all I could do was dance. Like it
Wow.
was the only thing that I could do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't pretty. It wasn't competition Allison, perfect Allison. It was so ugly and just like one of the first times that I could give two fucks about what it looked like. Like I was just
Yeah.
like it was so somatic and so important and so and then I got this like crazy feeling that like he could see me through technology. So I started recording myself dancing all the time and feeling like I was like, energy can't be created or destroyed. Like maybe he's in the energy somewhere and he can see me and he can
Yeah.
feel me and he can understand what I couldn't say to him.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of dance personally for me. Not that dance hasn't helped me through, boyfriend breakups or,
Yeah.
rejection or all of that, which it totally has. But that was like the deepest level that dance has taken me to.
Oh,
Um,
God,
yeah.
like the deepest heartbreak imaginable.
Yeah. And it was like my
Yeah.
blood pressure was out of control and the doctors were trying all this medication for me to try to fix it. And I was like, you guys, my heart is broken. Like, and it
Yes.
is going to take a long time for it to not be broken.
Yeah.
And so we, ultimately stopped any medication or anything. And I just moved my way clumsily through that grief. So that was about 5.5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And, some days I'm totally okay. And then some days I'm totally shattered
Yeah.
still. And so I do still come back to dance, and I'm creating a dance show for him, actually, currently
Wow.
working with an artist to create a show. I immediately, like right after he died, I was like, I'm making a show for you. Like,
Yeah.
and then I began it and I raised a lot of money, and then COVID happened 6 months after he died. So
Yeah.
that brought the world to a standstill. But I did create a short film for him called Mother, or I ended up calling it It's Okay Mama, because when I was in the shower, I could always hear him saying, It's okay, Mama. And then the
Oh.
other thing that he would always say is, You have forever. And so that really was like such a beautiful, freeing sentence for me. It's okay, you have
Yes.
forever. Like to just
Yes.
slow down and not try to fix everything and not try to understand everything. Like I was like, okay, if something so big is going to happen to me, I want to know what the lesson was. And I don't want to have to learn this lesson again. Like
Yeah.
it felt so important to me. And the biggest lesson I got from him was, it's okay, you have forever, and like honor your breath, because breath has
Yeah.
always been so hard for me, but he never got to feel breath. So
Yeah.
that's why I always
Wow.
end my class with 3 breaths when I
Oh, that's
teach.
so beautiful. I just want us to
Yeah.
like pause for a second, both for you, for me, and for anybody listening, because that is that's such heavy grief, but also
Mm-hmm.
like such beautiful connection that you have,
Mm-hmm.
like the connection and um wow. So I can we do a straw breath together?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll for people listening or watching, we're going to breathe in the nose for a count of 4 and out your mouth for a count of 6 to 8, with your lips pursed as though you're drinking from a straw. So, all right, let's get started. Let's do one more together. And that's just meant for us to take a minute to connect with ourselves and get into a little bit more of safety and connection space.
Mm-hmm.
So, Allison, thank you for sharing that story. I know that's like so big. That's such a
Yeah.
huge thing, and thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
I think it's so beautiful how you were able to let your body tell you what it needed. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
telling you it needed that movement and that dance, and um, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy because the music I was drawn to too after he passed was this band called Cloud Cult, who I've been creating work to for over a decade and wanting to collaborate with. And so they also lost a child, and I'd always felt this like
Oh,
kindred spirit to the singer. And
yeah,
then when I lost mine, I was like, oh my God, I've been so moved by your music and so connected to it for so long. And now I have this like, they have like 20 years of work, and like he devoted multiple albums to his loss. So there's all these albums that literally speak the language that I'm looking to move to. So
yes.
it yeah, and I got to see them perform on the day before Indy's death anniversary in August of this past year.
Oh,
They went on
wow.
tour for the first time in like I think 5 years, and their first city was where I happened to be for my brother's wedding. And
Wow.
it was like me and my husband both were just like sobbing the whole time. But when
Yeah.
they played this song that my son Banks was born to, this song that they wrote called You Were Born, and I
Mm,
meant to have Indy be born to it, but he came a lot faster than Banks, so we didn't have the music going. But we played it for him a lot while he was here, and we played it for him. I sang it to him while he was dying.
mm,
And when that song came on, his color was orange. It was like weirdly, I feel like spirits do control light sometimes. Like he
mhm.
would turn our downstairs lights on all orange, like every morning for like 6 weeks
Wow.
after he died, they would always come on orange. And then his like birth color was orange in this like birthday book that I have. And I had wanted to like paint his wall like this tangerine orange color, but my mom was like, why don't you sleep on that? Like that's a pretty aggressive color. And then it turned out that was his color. But when that song came on, when they were performing, the whole stage lit up orange. And it was like the first time
Wow.
they'd used that color. And it was just like, hi, you know?
Wow. Like so much
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
So much connection.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like before indie and but definitely supercharged after indie, that's been my mission is connection, feeling free and feeling a sense of belonging and inclusion. That's like
Mm.
I think I've always been a really free person, but I think I've not always felt that deep connection that I'm always seeking.
Yeah.
So I like to create spaces where people feel connection. I used to start all my dance classes with my like younger students with them hugging for like 3 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and I would just be like, just hug until you stop laughing because they were
Yeah.
teenagers. But that was I get notes from kids all the time still where they're like, I remember the hugs that you made us do, and like
Oh,
it was obviously a different time back then. Now I would need to like check and make sure people felt okay with touch and all that. But
right. Yeah.
in the 90s, 2000s, it wasn't. And I feel like it did more good than any kind of harm that I could think of. But yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like continuing to be mindful about what other people's healing looks like is also a big part of my journey.
Yes. And that's something else I wanted to talk to you about is like, obviously, this has been a profound journey for you and profound healing from dance. And I know you've worked with so many other people. And I was just curious about how you've seen their journeys like, unfold as they've
Yeah.
leaned into dance.
Yeah. I think I have a dance company that we are all over the country, so we come together and do live stuff. They are who helped me create the work for Indy after he died
Mhm.
remotely. So we did everything remotely, and during that time, one of my company members' dads passed away, and we did a piece about going it was a Cloud Cult song that's about like dying and then deciding not to die and coming back. He wrote it when he was thinking about suicide after his son died, but it also has like a double meaning like all songs do. And so I picked her to show that, and I feel like she wore her mom's like dress. Her mom's still alive, but she wore like her mom's old dress from when she was just first married. It was like a white like dress, and the whole piece was just her elevated and stop motion most of the time, just moving throughout this field.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's hard to put words to dance like the shift that dance can make in the heart.
Mhm.
But the only way I think that Laura's heart felt lighter after
Mhm.
like the heaviness of the loss felt a little bit lighter and gave it
Mhm.
being able to move in such an she looked like an angel, and like it was just the song is so gentle and so angelic. And we did a lot of because we were doing stop motion, we did a lot of repetitive movement where she would just jump and then move over an inch, jump, move over an inch.
Mhm.
So we kind of got into this like meditative state, and it was fall, so there was like fall sunbeams coming through like this like wheat that was like blowing in the wind. I think
Wow.
dance and nature are like the ultimate combo. And
Yes.
so I feel like watching, and we're really close still, and she's just like a deep soul, so she's a bit younger than me, but she was one of those people that really showed up after indie. You kind of learn who's comfortable with grief and who's not, and
Mhm.
how people respond to that kind of thing, and who continues to hold space after it's not like on their mind
I
all the
think
time.
that, Allison, is huge for people who've experienced medical stress, medical trauma. Um, Not everybody has the capacity to be with that, and it's
Yeah.
oftentimes because they're terrified of feeling.
Yeah.
And so I think for anyone listening and people who've experienced medical trauma, loss, um, it's validating, I think, to hear like it's
Yeah.
not just you, okay?
Oh yeah.
You are not the only person who has had people disappear when you've gone through something hard, and it has nothing to do with you. It
Yeah.
has to do with the person who disappears because they don't have the capacity to be with that.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes we can take it personally, like wait, what? Do they
Yeah. I
not
thought
care for
you
me?
care
Like,
about me. Yeah.
yeah. But to know that unfortunately not everybody has the like nervous system capacity to sit with that.
Yeah. And
Um,
after losing a baby, like some people that I knew that were pregnant, like I think didn't want to be close to me because they were scared it could happen to them.
yes.
And I mean,
And it
both of my best
could.
friends miscarried after I lost Indy.
Yeah.
They were not super far along, and it was before they had to have any kind of DNC or anything, but it was still like kind of eerie, like that they both miscarried after my loss. I think
Yeah.
there is validity to being afraid of the darkness of like loss.
Absolutely, because it is that is a part of life. Loss
Hmm.
is a part of life, and I think oftentimes when we're bringing new life into the world, we're so excited, and we it's you don't think about loss when you think about
Yeah.
babies, but it is fairly common
Yeah.
for there to be loss from conception to birth and after birth. But it's really hard. It's
Yeah.
heartbreaking. It is beyond words.
Yeah.
Um,
But what I would say to people that are afraid is that you don't have to do anything grand to make the person that's lost or going through trauma feel your love. Like I had a neighbor who literally would just drop off a note like every few weeks and it said just a note and had like a little music note and it was like just letting you know I love you and that was it. And it's like
oh,
she's stuck with me for so long. She didn't, dig down deep and have like deep conversations with me about where I was at, but just the fact that I remained in her heart space was all that I really needed from, because truly when you go through that kind of loss, nobody can fix you. Nobody can help you. Nobody can get you out. Like you are alone in that grief. Nothing is going to change that. Like nobody's well-intentioned flowers or anything. And it's lovely and it's
right.
wonderful and I loved it, but it was like the darker or the deeper I got into the grief, the more I was like, okay, at 3 a.m., everybody's great gifts are sitting on my shelf, but like I'm still having a panic attack, you know?
Yes, yes, yes. But I love that message to people who are listening, or if you're listening and maybe there's somebody who you want to share this with, that it doesn't have to be something grand. Sometimes it is just showing up and saying, "Hey, I'm here."
Hmm.
Um, drop off food, drop off a
Yeah.
note that just says, "I'm
Yeah.
here. You're not alone."
The biggest
Um,
thing that I do too, once like people that I know have started to experience loss, is I put the day in my calendar on a reoccurring thing so that on that
mhm.
day, if it's somebody I'm super close with, I'll send cards or something in advance. But just a text just saying, like, I know it's Indy's birthday today. Love you. Like, happy fifth birthday, Indy. Like
Yes,
it's just like the further you get away from it, the obviously less people remember
yes,
about it. But so it's like those people, like if it is somebody that you love, 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 like taking the time to note those important milestones and anniversaries, I think has been powerful. And I think when I go to help other people, I try to make sure that I keep those big days in my orbit,
yeah.
even far away from the actual lost day.
Yeah, and this also reminds me of I had somebody named Matt Maxwell on the podcast, and he shared about his experience with cancer as a teen and how the first 2 weeks everybody was bringing things, all the neighbors were stopping by, and then it just kind of fades. And so, a reminder for people that, yeah, check in on the dates of things that were really hard that
Yeah.
happened. And also for the people listening to know that on the anniversary of hard things, so on the anniversary of your son Indy's death, or the anniversary of somebody being admitted to the ICU or getting a diagnosis, to know that our bodies remember those things.
Yeah.
And on those days, maybe to plan something really gentle and loving and supportive for yourself,
Hmm.
because those anniversaries really matter. And even if
Yeah.
our mind sometimes forgets them, our body doesn't forget them.
Yes. I call those like 4 days the portal because
Yeah.
I try to not have anything going on. My brother happened to schedule his wedding during during it last year. So that was hard, but also a beautiful serendipitous time to get to be in New York and see Cloud Cult. And
Yes. And be with
but yeah,
people
the
who love
body,
you.
Yeah, the body. Sometimes I just wanna be in bed and not be around anybody, you know? So I
Yeah.
wasn't sure how I was gonna show up that year and how he was gonna show up that year, but everything was exactly as it was meant to be, and with my loss, and I think with anybody's loss, it's like that if Indy were 20, he wouldn't want me to just shut down the whole world and miss my brother's wedding because I was remembering his birthday and death day. Like he always
Right.
keeps this like joy in me and this like childness in me that I think I'm lucky to have that as like kind of his one of his many gifts that he left behind was not, don't use this as a weapon to like, you know, get out of stuff or whatever it is. Like I try to use I try to honor him and, like, be really, like, gracious and kind and loving and all the things that I think of when I think of babies and present and,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about the way that I feel like you show up is really with a very big open heart and definitely a lot of joy and energy. So like I feel like that radiates out of you anytime
Thank
I'm
you.
around you. And I have to share with the listeners and viewers that for my birthday, I invited a bunch of girlfriends to dance with me and Allison, and she picked the best songs. They were just so fun and uplifting. And I remember the movements that we did. I remember a movement where we raised our hands like to the sun, and it was so filling. And then you had us do things in connection. And I mean, like, even now, and it's been what, 4 months, like I feel emotion come up because it was so, I felt so loved.
Oh.
um and I believe that the You Were Born song was on that playlist.
I think
Yeah,
I
I
did
think
do
that
that
was the
for
last
yeah, the
one
cool
for our
down.
stretching.
I did,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So yeah, I just had to share that. It just came up for me
Yeah,
and I wanted to share how special that was to
thank
be
you.
able to be in that beautiful, connected, joyful energy with other women,
Yeah. Yeah,
celebrating.
thank you for saying that. I do
Yeah,
really try to have at least 1 or 2 songs where everybody feels really connected to each other,
yeah,
and it's not like the high model doesn't do that a lot, but I just, like, shift it around. I'm like, "Make a circle." Because I
yes.
just think there's something so childlike about being in a circle and all shuffling the same direction, going
Yeah.
in, coming back,
And we
and
always like kind of laugh and smile when we do it,
yeah.
whenever we get into the circle and you like make eye contact with somebody as you're like doing like arms, it just
Yeah.
makes you kind of like smile and laugh. And I'm just thinking about all these beautiful components that come together for healing when we're doing this kind of dancing. And it's like obviously movement for the nervous system is a huge part of healing.
Mhm.
Again, with medical trauma, oftentimes our abilities have shifted and not everybody has the same abilities to move like they could. But um, moving in however you can. Another thing is the music. Music
Mhm.
is so soothing, uplifting. There's so many different ways that music can impact our healing.
Mhm.
Connection. The connection is just, I think, one of the absolute most important things when we're
Mhm.
healing. And I talk about it a lot. We have a free peer support group every Tuesday from 9 to 10
Mhm.
Central so people can show up and be in supportive connection with other people. I'm such an advocate for connection and providing spaces for connection. And I think
Mhm.
that's one of the many reasons that I love going to your class. So, yeah, I just think there are so many aspects to dance that are so healing for people, and
Mhm.
especially when you can have fun with it. Like, we didn't talk about
Yes.
that part. It is fun. And if you don't want to dance in front of other people, dance in your house, put your favorite song on, move your body in whatever silly, weird way, laugh about it. Like, if you feel like you look silly, laugh.
Yeah.
That is a big part of the healing process too.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
did
I've started oh, sorry.
I was going to say that you shared that you did a lot of work with teens.
I did, yeah.
And that's a time where it can be hard to just laugh, like belly laugh, because you're like, what is what are other people doing? What how is
Yeah.
she moving? So I would love to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of diving back into that type of class for adults now that I used to do. So I would do I was mainly the contemporary teacher for teens. And so a lot of what that looked like was teaching them improvisation techniques.
Mm,
So ways to just create the movement with prompts. And a lot of those prompts are super silly,
mhm,
or like, pretend like you're moving from this side of the room to this side of the room underneath a table. What does that
mm,
look like? So just kind of also giving them the bones so that they aren't feeling like I have to think of everything. It's just like what comes out of your body when I say your bones have turned to noodles. How does your
mm.
body move when your bones are noodles, like floppy, floppy noodles? Or what does it feel like to have a ping pong ball inside of you and moving all around? So
Wow.
just like ways to go in and putting on music like with them. A lot of times teenagers are working through a lot of big heartbreak or feeling disconnected from peers.
Yeah.
So, doing that, we did a lot of work in circle where we would actually just be seated and do movement like sitting down with their eyes
Mhm,
closed, but feeling.
mhm,
We would do a lot of breath work together so they would feel connected. And I was doing this kind of when I would teach a lot. It was in the early 2000s is when I was really full time there, and
mhm,
I didn't know what meditation was. Like nobody knew, like so I was intuitively slowing down because I knew when I was a competition kid, all I craved was to slow down. And
mhm.
so all my classes were not about getting stronger, getting better physically in the way that you would think of as like a competition dancer,
Yeah.
but they were about regulating your nervous system, slowing down, tuning into
Before
what
you
needs to
had
be
the before you had
before
the
I'd taken a
science
yoga
behind
class.
it.
Yeah. I
Yes,
hadn't
yeah.
even taken yoga yet. Like I didn't take yoga till 2011 or something was my first
Yeah.
yoga class. And then I promptly got certified because I was like, oh God, I got to learn more about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like so now here I love the high classes, the cardio dance and sculpt classes. I'll never get rid of those. But I'm craving the softer side of what I have to offer too. So I've
Mhm.
started offering these embodied movement classes that
Mm.
the music is much more subtle, the movement is kind of what I was explaining. I give a lot of improvisational tools.
Mhm.
Um, Even like the first thing I started the last class with was go to the wall and pretend the wall is the most supportive, loving person and move your body against the wall and just like feel what
Mhm.
it feels like to be held up with different body parts and know that it's like this sturdy thing that has your back. Start with your back there.
Mhm.
Like breathe into what it feels like to know that you're supported. And so it was both emotional, but also we did like there's this thing called ball of energy where you
Mm.
like tap on somebody and they move away from that energy. So if I tapped here, I would move like that. And then once they
Oh,
freeze, you
fun.
tap a new spot and you move away. And so it was playful too. We did like some partnering stuff, some we did, which I learned from this, like make sure people feel comfortable being lifted. But we did a group lifting exercise where you
Mhm.
felt what it felt like to be fully supported in community and
Mhm.
lifted up, moved around, and then carefully set back down.
Wow.
And it's a really sacred feeling. It also brings you back to like light as a feather, stiff as a board, but it can also bring up some like, oh my God, am I too heavy? Am I an inconvenience? Am I
Yeah.
hurting these people? And so figuring out, there's other ways to feel that if you're in that space, which I know what that feels like to be in that space. I think
Yeah.
everybody deserves to feel that they can be lifted, but I
Yes.
honor that not everybody's ready to trust that
Yeah.
they're safe to be lifted. But yeah, so I'm offering those classes now, and this next weekend, I'm doing one with live music, which I think is going to be
Wow.
like next level incredible. So,
Yes.
and he's like a sound healer. What dance is to me, sound is to him. And so he's going to be playing like this ancient flute and then his voice doing like vocal toning and like matching different chakra points that I'm going to
That's
like guide people through.
amazing.
So I'm excited to use dance with that kind of healing as well.
Yeah. Well, how can people find you? I want to know how people can find you because, you've talked about this beautiful work you're doing and you're in Austin, but is there a way for people outside of Austin to also engage with you?
I mean, I'm on Instagram.
And
Sadly, there's nothing better yet.
yeah, so what's
Um,
your handle on
my
Instagram?
handle is all is on the move, and in between so my name's Allison, but it's all is on if you break it down. The move is the last part, and there's like a little underscore in between each word. So all underscore is underscore on underscore the underscore move.
Okay, great. And I'll put that in the show notes too. Um, Yeah, you're just doing so much beautiful work that I want people to be able to find you and learn about it. And, because we're recording this podcast at a time that you may have something totally different and they can follow you and find out about what it is. But I also wanted to know, like, you've shared so much beautiful information, and I'm curious if there is anything that you want to make sure that the audience gets to hear from you before we end our
Yeah, I do
episode.
actually. I
Yeah.
think the biggest lesson of one of the big, I say the biggest for everything, but one of the biggest lessons of my lifetime is knowing that everything you need to know, you already know. So you
Hmm.
can listen to all of the gurus and all of the podcasts, but truly, if you spend 10 minutes breathing and ask the question that you're looking for the answer, if you need to reframe it as like God or divine or universe answering you, so be it. But I have deep, deep trust that clarity and information comes from right in this
Hmm.
place.
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. I think I agree with you that the body holds so much wisdom. And I think that that's a big part of why I do the work I do, because I want to help people in their medical trauma healing journey to befriend their body again.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we've experienced trauma, medical trauma, really just trauma in general, oftentimes the body doesn't feel safe for us anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
so, as we are on this healing path and we're able to gently start to become friends again with our bodies, then we have the the capacity to tap into that wisdom again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also, there are a lot of people that are just they're on that journey and they haven't gotten there yet. But again, like dance, there's so many different ways that we can continue on that journey to where we can find the support and the capacity and the safety to look inside and to turn in toward our bodies, like you said. And it's there. The wisdom is there. It's pretty magical.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's not to discredit learning or anything, just to
Oh, of
know that
course.
I
Yeah.
always would get so almost like overwhelmed with how much I didn't know and how much
Hmm.
I felt like I needed to learn to feel whole and to feel healed. But I do think, especially with trauma, time a lot of times is a big healer,
Yes.
but some support, community,
Support.
connection, validation,
Yes.
just being witnessed, and then
Yes.
also just allowing that to open you and unlock you to finding what you need.
Yeah. And it also brings me back to what you said you would hear from Indy. And what was it was you have forever?
Yeah, it's okay, mama. You have forever.
You have forever. Yeah, we have more time than I think we realize when we slow down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Allison, it was so beautiful to be with you, and I'm so thankful for you to share your story with other people.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sarah. I had such a good time.
Good. I'm glad. It was good to be with you.
See you Thursday.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Medical Trauma Support Podcast. If you are looking for some tips to soothe your own nervous system, you can go to my website and find a free guide to doing that. The website is medicaltraumasupport.com.